You are now listening to the RSL Show on KSL Sports, Utah's largest sports network. Your number one source for everything Real Salt Lake. Utah's number one rated Real Salt Lake podcast.
All right, welcome in. It's a brand new edition of the RSL Show on the KSL Sports Network. I'm Alex Napoles. Sitting alongside me today is Carson Lantz. Carson, this is kind of cool, dude. We don't really get to do these in-person shows, and now here we are sitting in the studio together, and we get to talk about Real Salt Lake.
Yeah, this is an awesome experience to be in a world-class studio here at KSL in Salt Lake, and I don't know what to think, but this is awesome. It's nice and lit up in here and comfortable, and I love it.
There you go. Thanks for making the journey up here, man. We're doing this today at the KSL studios because we're anticipating to be joined by, later today, a special guest to help us preview this LA Galaxy Real Salt Lake matchup that we'll dive into here momentarily. But before we get into all that, let's jump into Real Salt Lake. Let's jump into the news and let's talk about what's going on with this club, with this team, and the latest news, which is that Real Salt Lake might be up for sale.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing as well.
The reports coming out from Sportico usually a pretty reliable, a pretty good source of information when it comes to the business side of sports. They put out an article last week, I believe it was on Friday, where they were talking about the Millers, the former Utah Jazz owners, potentially going after and buying Real Salt Lake.
Yeah, see, I don't know much about the Miller family, but I've heard good and bad things about them. But I bet, Alex, you'd probably know a little bit more about them than I do.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as the Millers go, they were in charge of the Utah Jazz the last time the Jazz were competing in the NBA. And so I think it's interesting to see the reports come out and hear about Real Salt Lake potentially being sold off, considering the fact that David Blitzer had just taken over He's only been the owner for 3 years?
Yeah, not that long. Very
quick turnaround, it looks like, for David Blitzer. The situation right now is currently that they're still in negotiations. They're still trying to figure out the final details, but it sounds like it's very, very close to being done.
Yeah. To me, in my eyes, it seems like Ryan Smith and David Blitzer took it over and feel like this was kind of a profit. And Ryan Smith sees that profit and is going to sell off his portion. David Blitzer, I don't think he's selling off his full portion. He's going to stay as the minority owner. But, it kind of does suck as a fan who, as a casual fan, you, see new owners come in. You're like, oh, yay, we're excited for the next 10 years to come. And then all of a sudden, boom, those owners are gone just like that. It's like, well, what did they really even do then? What was their plan all along? And so hopefully the Miller family can come in and have a long-term goal with the next 10 plus years in mind rather than just the next 3 in mind and hoping to get a profit off.
Like I said, it is a little bit concerning. It is a little bit, it makes you wonder why David Blitzer, why Ryan Smith wants to move on so quickly, why they're looking to sell off the club so quickly. But again, if the Millers are, in these conversations and meeting with the brass, meeting with Blitzer, meeting with Smith, and putting out a number in front of them that they can't refuse, I understand. I understand why.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's a business. It is a profit. You are trying to make profit. You are trying to boost your count, if you will. And if the number was right from the Millers, then I don't see why not.
Yeah.
I don't see why not move on.
It's just, it kind of makes you think, though. It's what does the Millers, what does their soccer background look like? What do they know? Who do they have around them that's going to help them lead a soccer team? What they have the Bees. Am I correct about that?
That's right.
And then they used to have the Jazz.
Yep.
So baseball and basketball, nothing like soccer.
Well, and before Blitzer came into the picture, it sounds like the Jazz were seriously interested, or not the Jazz, the Millers were seriously interested in potentially getting Real Salt Lake. But apparently the offer that they made wasn't what MLS wanted. And so that's why Blitzer came along and ended up being the one who purchased the club. But now, here we are again 3 years later. And there was former interest as well from the Miller Group, previous to as well to that 2022 sale of potentially acquiring Real Salt Lake. But now it looks like we're a couple years down the road, and it looks like it's potentially going to happen.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see that happen, though. I wonder what exactly is going on where they were just like, Blitzer and Smith and co. were just like, let's sell now. Let's give this team to the Millers when they could have gotten it before, But now they're probably gonna get a profit off of it, and I don't know. I don't really know what else to think about it much. I just think I know after all the times where I was just like, Ryan Smith, like pay attention more to us. You're all about the hockey team, which now it's like, yeah, he is all about the hockey team because he's getting rid of Real Salt Lake. But I think it'll be good to have Blitzer still around. If the reports are correct, he's going to stay as a minority and have all those Blitzer club connections with Europe still around.
Yeah, so later on, Tom Bogert and a couple of others, I think some other people from Sportico as well, came out and did mention that Blitzer is still going to be involved in one way, shape, or form, either as a minority owner or an investor to the club. And so what Tom Bogert said was that the future of Ryan Smith's involvement was still up in the air.
So we don't know what he's going to do then.
But we'll see. The biggest thing for me, man, is kind of taking in all this ownership talk and all this new developments when it comes to potential ownership and transferring over to the Millers. Was me and Josh were having a conversation, and Josh, who couldn't be with us today, unfortunately, he's off in Manchester watching the United. Not yet, but
the Red Devils.
Yes, soon he'll be watching Manchester United take on Man City. But we had a conversation about the transfer market, and the rumors had gotten really, really quiet. But now it seems it makes sense. Because if Real Salt Lake were to go out and purchase a player, let's say tomorrow, and make a transfer, who's footing the bill? Who's footing the bill and putting down the money when there's a potential change in ownership, when there's a potential change coming to who owns the club?
You would think maybe Blitzer, but I feel like whenever there's an ownership change in the process, I feel like don't clubs usually, like, they can't do transfer business? And so now it's like, okay, you guys said we were going to make some signings probably around the time in April. Well, no, we're selling the club.
And it looks like Tom Bogert kind of made a comment about that too when it came to reporting about Real Salt Lake's ownership changes. He was saying that he felt for the front office because they're obviously currently trying to pursue a number 9 and some striker help and some help in the attack, and they're clearly trying to go after these players. But now, because of the question of ownership, and now because of the question of potential changes coming to Real Salt Lake, that might be on the back burner. That might be on hold now. And for RSL fans, that probably isn't something you want to hear.
No, I mean, after one great season, one historical club season, the season ticket prices got raised, like a lot of things got raised, and now the ownership's like, all right, peace out. And then it's like, also we're having a really bad start to the season where we were told this is the best step we've ever had in Real Salt Lake club history, and there's just a lot of disappointment going on right now.
It's not a good start.
No,
it's not a good start, and we'll get to the Minnesota game here momentarily because I feel like we both have a lot of thoughts when it comes to that 2-0 loss. But first, Carson, let's jump into some other news around the league, and we got to talk about Peter Vermes. Peter Vermes officially let go, officially parted ways with, however you want to say it. He got canned at Sporting Kansas City. It's something that should have happened back in 2022. Here we are in the year of 2025, and it's finally happened. Peter Vermes no longer head coach for Sporting Kansas City.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. I know lots of KC fans are very happy about that one. He was like the longest tenured head coach in the world?
One of the longest tenured head coaches, not just in Major League Soccer, mind you, in the entire world. He's been at the helm of Sporting Kansas City since 2009.
That's crazy. Three U.S. Open Cups and one MLS Cup?
Yes.
I mean, he had a good run at KC, but I think his time is just
he had a
run
great
out.
run.
Yeah.
Sure, he had a really good run, and I don't want to take away their Open Cups. I don't want to take away their MLS Cup, the one that they beat Real Salt Lake to. However, back in 2013, but when's the last time Sporting Kansas City had a successful regular season? And it wasn't 2022. I'll tell you that. It wasn't 2023, 2024. It has been consistent years of struggle for SKC. And finally, I don't think they have won. They've tied one game. They're 0-1-5 to start the year. And they finally decided to let Peter Vermes go.
Dang. It just makes me like I remember when it used to be fun playing KC, you know, it's just like where the heck is even KC? Like you used to have KC, Rapids, Timbers, Seattle, like all of these guys were all good at one point, and KC's kind of just fallen off the map. You know, they made a signing with Jovic, the striker from, I think that's how you say his name, from LA Galaxy, which I wish RSL would have gotten him. But he went to an even worse team. Like, we're having a pretty mid-season, but he went to an even worse team that's having a worse season. They just fired their head coach, like, not even that long into the season.
I don't think Real Salt Lake ever tried to go after Jovic, which I think is kind of disappointing. If he was available, I think Real Salt Lake should have gone after him.
Yeah.
But I do like the move for Sporting Kansas City. I do like the move for them. On paper, it should be a really good move, right? You move on from Pulido, who injury-prone, struggled the last couple of years, hasn't really been on the pitch that much the last couple of years. You move on and you bring in Jovic, who it's coming off a phenomenal campaign, just won MLS Cup. On paper, that's a really good move, but Sporting Kansas City, only 6 goals on the year, man.
That's crazy. It's finally that ownership or in front office is woken up. Wasn't Vermes also like the general manager as well?
He was kind of in charge of everything, and then this offseason they finally brought in a sporting director to support him. But I think that was more geared towards, we're going to bring in the sporting director to help you out, so then that way if the season starts off the way that it has, we can fire you and not have to worry about filling in too many roles.
Yeah, it seems like they just kind of gave him a little too much power, and he overstayed his stay.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Sporting Kansas City, they move on from Peter Vermes, and we move on. Let's take a look at some of the scores around Major League Soccer from this past weekend. You have New England, who beat the New York Red Bulls 2-1. Toronto FC and Vancouver tying 0-0. Colorado Rapids with a 2-0 win over Charlotte FC. Which, by the way,
that was a great win by the Rapids.
Very frustrated Zaha.
Yeah.
Very frustrated Zaha. 4-3, New York City FC losing to Atlanta United. Did you catch any of that game, man?
No, I didn't, no.
So for you and for the listeners, the New York City FC were up 3-1 in this game. Keaton Park scores an own goal in the 62nd minute. Miguel Almiron scores his first since returning for Atlanta United in the 75th to make it 3-3. And then in the 84th minute, there's a ball that's played back to Matt Freese, who's their goalkeeper. He doesn't come out for it. Latilov uses speed to just run in behind and steals it and then puts it in for the winner. It was a very bad defensive performance from New York City FC, especially being up 3-1 on the road.
Yeah, Matt Freese, was one of the best goalkeepers last season, as we all know, and a lot of people say he should be getting called up for the United States, but, goalkeepers make mistakes here and there, and sadly he made one that cost him to win a game, and Latilov, still building on that great start to the season he's having. He got brought in for like $17 million, $20 million, one of the highest fees in the MLS we've ever seen for a striker. And yeah, I'm jealous of Atlanta United right now. He's
had a good start.
They got a world-class stadium, a great atmosphere. Just they got their ownership is rich, very rich. They dropped a lot of money on them last season and now this season, and they're going all in. They brought back Almiron as well. They're going all in to get a second championship over there in Atlanta.
Columbus Crew with a 2-1 win over DC United. Inter Miami with a 2-1 win over Philadelphia. 1-1 draw between Chicago Fire and Montreal. FC Dallas with a 2-1 win over Sporting Kansas City, the final nail in Peter Vermees's coffin. A 2-0 win for Minnesota over Real Salt Lake. We'll get into that one momentarily. FC Cincinnati with a 2-1 win over Nashville. Did you happen to catch a video of Denke's penalty?
Mm-mm.
Everybody's talking about the stutter step, how it should or shouldn't be banned.
I don't mind the stutter step. I don't mind it.
I think the way that Denke does it, they have to take a look at it because he does it he does it differently.
Then like the Bruno Fernandes hop?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, he does like a very clear stop.
I think it gets to a point where goalkeepers can't come off their line. Okay, but then what rules do we have for penalty takers? You know,
man.
Goalies can't do certain things to make saves, but then penalty takers can do whatever they want besides touch the ball twice.
So basically, Denke steps up to the ball, does his stutter step, stops, takes steps back, and then goes and kicks it. And so that's why people within Major League Soccer and people watching it are kind of upset because he clearly like resets the run, and that shouldn't be allowed.
Okay, taking step backs is definitely a little too much.
Yeah, exactly.
In my years of watching soccer and playing soccer, I never even knew you could take steps back.
No, you can't. That's the issue.
Yeah, okay, that's bullcrap.
That's the issue. So you have Cincinnati with a 2-1 win over Nashville, Orlando with a 2-1 win over the LA Galaxy. Galaxy, man, that's another team. So I'm really hoping that we can get our guy Edgar in here to come talk to us about this Galaxy team because I want to know what's going on, man. From MLS Cup to yet to win a game this season, and just, I mean, I get your players are injured, and I get you're dealing with some of your more key players like Ricky Puig not being available, but still, man, that's quite the fall off for an MLS Cup defending team.
I think I was thinking about is that quote that Marco Reus said in the off season where it's like, okay, well, we won the championship, and we now have less than what we had when we won. You know, in most leagues, we get rewarded for winning. You know, you get more money, you get more payroll. But now the LA Galaxy have less, and they also have injuries though. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yes, exactly. And I love that you bring that up. We'll get into that hopefully here towards the end once we start previewing the Galaxy. And we'll circle back to that conversation because you just said something that I find really, really important. San Diego FC with a 3-2 win over LAFC. Lloris, man, not a good performance.
Mm-mm.
Not a good performance. Just spills it in front of the San Diego player. It was a Valakari who puts it in, and not good.
Yeah, hear me out. San Diego's been great, but how many times in the last couple seasons when a new expansion team has came in and they are great the first season, but where do they go the next season?
It's weird how that's changed.
Yeah,
because expansion teams, 5-10 years ago, they would come into the league and they wouldn't be good.
Yeah,
they would struggle for a little bit. But now you have expansion teams, I think probably since 2018 when LAFC came in, and you had an expansion team that immediately made an impact. And I think since then, every expansion team, except maybe Cincinnati. Cincinnati took a minute.
Yeah.
But for the most part, the expansion teams now entering the league have been a lot better since, when, oh man, who else?
Like Orlando, when Orlando came in?
Yeah, Orlando wasn't that great when they came in.
Yeah.
And honestly, nor was New York City FC when they came in. And they had Lampard and Pirlo. Yeah, man. And they struggled to get to the point where they were able to win an MLS Cup.
Yeah.
But now San Diego currently sitting in third place with 11 points. So the tides have changed for expansion sides for sure. Austin FC with a 1-0 win over St. Louis City, and then the Portland Timbers with a 3-1 win over the Houston Dynamo. Take a look at the table real quick for the Western Conference. Vancouver at the top with 13 points. In second, Austin FC with 12, which is interesting. I didn't realize Austin was that high.
At 12?
At 12. And they've only scored 5 goals.
I'm surprised they're that low. I thought they would have been better this year.
No. They're in second with 12 points.
Oh, okay. I thought you said 12. I'm like, what?
No. They're in second with 12 points. They've only lost 2 games so far this year, but they've only scored 5 goals.
Well, then their defense must be showing up.
3 goals conceded. The best defense right now in Major League Soccer.
And that goal differential is interesting. 5 goals and 3 goals conceded.
Yeah, man. Wild.
You'd think they'd have more, though, with the likes of Brandon Vasquez coming back to the MLS.
Vasquez hasn't scored yet, dude.
Oh, I thought he scored 1. Or was that in like...
Oh, maybe he scored 1.
Or was that in like some domestic tournament or something? Like,
maybe he scored 1.
Okay.
I could be wrong there. But it hasn't been the best of returns for Brandon Vasquez. He did score against San Diego. You're right.
Okay.
You're right.
Yeah, I think that's not going to long-term, not having goals is not going to last them. I think definitely keeping goals out, but there's going to come up to a time where they will need to be scoring goals, and they need to figure that out sooner than later.
In third, San Diego with 11. In fourth, Minnesota with 11. Fifth, Colorado with 11. Sixth, Portland with 10. In 7, Dallas with 10. 8, LAFC with 9. 9, St. Louis City with 8. In 10th, San Jose with 7. 11th place, Real Salt Lake with 6 points. In 12th, Seattle Sounders with 6. In 13th, LA Galaxy with 2. 14th, Houston with 2. And 15th, Sporting Kansas City with 1 point. Leading the Supporter Shield, of course, Inter Miami with 13 points. Tied with Vancouver with 13 points. And that's where we're at to start the season. Real Salt Lake taking on Minnesota. Do you want to jump into the starting 11 first, or do you want to let out some frustration?
Well, let's just do the starting 11 first.
All right.
Yeah.
Starting lineup first for Real Salt Lake. You have Rafa Cabral in goal. You have Philip Quinton, Brian Vera, Justin Glad, Sam Junka across the back. Emeka Eneli and Ojeda in the midfield, as you should expect. Dominic Mark Zook, Diego Luna, Diogo Gonçalves, the 3. And then Forcer Jago up top. A lot of players that I feel like we kind of knew were going to play this game because you have a situation like Piol, who's suspended and unavailable for this one, so you kind of knew what Jago was going to start. The thing that I find interesting, and the thing that I'm sure you find interesting too, is we were talking about it last week, how there needs to be more consistency across the back line. We finally see it, just maybe not in the way that we probably thought we were going to see it.
Yeah, I mean, we did ask for consistency,
Yeah, we
but
did.
it's pretty bad. It's
I guess,
bad.
I guess be careful what you wish for, man.
Yeah. We got Junqua and Quinton starting again, and it just makes the only thing I could think about is what has Contreras done? Why is he not starting?
I think you and everybody else is asking that same question.
Arguably our third, I would say he's a top 3 player at our club, is not starting. So that makes you think, what is happening elsewhere? Is he has a knock? Well, he still comes off the bench, so he obviously doesn't have a knock. Are they limiting his game time? Is there a locker room problem going on? Who knows? But either way, I still think Contreras should be on the field no matter what.
Well, and see, in this one, we didn't even see an appearance from Contreras off the bench.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I do want to point everybody's attention to head over to the KSL podcast feed. Head over to the Real Salt Lake section and listen to Alex Contreras. He actually spoke to members of the media yesterday, and he brought up the injury. He brought it up. It was an unprompted bring up. He said, "Hey, look, I've seen the messages online. I've seen the injury concerns online. I've seen people asking if I'm hurt, but I'm 100%. I'm ready. Go listen to it for yourself, if you can." But that's what Alex Contreras said.
We kind of talked about this last week as well, and it just seems like there's a lot of bias and favoritism in that locker room with player selection, which I may just be assuming, but that's just what it looks like to me.
And I don't want to knock on Junka too much.
No.
Because, I mean, he's come in and he's done a job. Nobody's playing perfect right now. Let's be honest. This team is really struggling right now, and we'll get into that. But, I mean, you can't sit here and convince me that Junka is having a better season than Alex Contreras.
Yeah, he's not. I don't think he's even on the level of Alex Katranis at all.
There is a clear night and day difference of Real Salt Lake getting forward on that left side when Alex is in and when he's not.
I would rather have Tommy Silva than Junko right now.
Now that's a hot take.
Yeah. I just when I think about,
I don't know if I'd go that far, but
like here, this is what I'm thinking about is when we're looking at the left back position, we probably want a guy that is similar to Katranis and plays the way he does. I don't think Junko plays any way the way that Katranis plays. I think Junko more as a center back than I do as an outside back, and I think Tommy Silva has more of the profile that Katranis has than Junko. So that's why I say that. I mean, maybe Tommy Silva is not at that level yet, but from what I've seen, I would rather have him on the field just because he has more of an attacking presence than Junko has.
And we spent a lot of time in detail talking about this left back position for Real Salt Lake last week. I kind of echo the same feelings, kind of echo the same thing we talked about last week when it came to Katranis versus Junko. Now, I think I'm less concerned about that left back side because I think at the end of the day, Junko can come in and do a job. However, that right back spot, that's concerning.
Yeah, I think both sides are pretty concerning right now. But yeah, I think right back is like...
that to me is more concerning than Katranis versus Junko right now.
Yeah, we basically have 3 right backs right now, with one of them being... with honestly, 2 of them.
And neither of them are playing.
Yeah, we have Brown and Quinn, who are basically center backs.
Javane Brown didn't even make the trip to Minnesota.
And then we have Hidalgo. Doesn't even play that much. Besides in the Minnesota game, he came on at... I don't think he even came on at half. Did he come on at halftime?
Yeah. He was one of the 4 guys that came on off the half.
I don't know.
That right side to me is much more concerning than the left side right now.
Yeah, definitely.
But hey, we wanted consistency in the back line. We got our consistency. Let's jump into the performance. It was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad. It was such... The first 45 minutes, man, I was practically in disbelief. I understand the conditions are rough. I understand it's raining, it's pouring. It can make the game difficult. But Minnesota was outclassing, outplaying this Real Salt Lake side for the vast majority of the first 45 minutes. Can you think of a good opportunity that Real Salt Lake had in that first half? Because I can't.
No. I know there was one, but I can't remember.
So it wasn't that clear.
I think it was like Mark Schuch had a ball in or something, but someone whiffed it completely. That's all I can think about.
All I can think about from this game was from the first minute, man. From the get-go, Minnesota was the more dangerous side. I think 2 minutes in, they had a corner where they whip a ball in. Cabral ultimately gets called for the foul, or I guess gets a foul called against him. But 10 minutes later, after that corner kick, you have Kevin Yeboah, who had a perfect opportunity, beats Justin Glad in behind. Nicely played through ball by Minnesota. Cabral's off his line, makes a huge save. The defending in this one and the allowing the runs in behind, that's concerning.
Yes. We're playing like a Spurs back line. We're sitting really high up, and Minnesota just took advantage of that.
Which, I mean, the high line for Real Salt Lake, it's usually I'd like to think it's usually pretty solid. But in this one, you allowed Pereira, you allowed Oluwesi, you allowed Yeboah to get in behind you with that speed.
Yep.
A couple minutes later, another opportunity for Minnesota, ball crossed in, back post, comes crashing off the crossbar. And as soon as that ball comes crashing off the crossbar, I'm thinking to myself, Carson, it's going to be a really long night. Because surely, a few moments later, Sam Junko gets caught in no man's land, can't decide whether to commit to the cross or track back into the box and mark and defend. doesn't even contest the cross. You have Justin Glad and Brian Vera who switch off marks, but they don't communicate that they're switching off their marks. And so Oluweshi runs into the box completely unmarked. Just yards and yards of space around him. No one anywhere near close to him. The ball's whipped in. He heads it in. And Real Salt Lake get beat in the air once again. 1-0 Minnesota.
I feel like we were just talking about this problem.
I know, man. I mean, I'm glad it wasn't Quinton this time. But still, Real Salt Lake has problems in the air right now that need to be addressed. They have problems with runners tracking into the box that they let run into the box unmarked. It's not the first time an unmarked runner has gone in and scored for against Real Salt Lake, and that needs to be cleaned up ASAP.
I just feel like, how long have Glad and Vera been partners now?
Yeah, man. This isn't something you want to see from a partnership that's been a partnership for the last 2.5 years, almost.
Just thinking about it, I don't really. This may be pushing it a little bit, but I don't remember the last time I've ever seen those guys like look each other in the face while they're on the field and like actually communicate. Like, have you ever noticed them talking to each other?
Occasionally, but I think more when it comes to the communication part, I think it's more Cabral who's been the communicator this season, from what I've noticed. And like
being center backs, usually it's kind of like okay, we've been playing each other for a long time. You do this, and I have your back. You do this. But I feel like it comes with that. Vera is just really unpredictable with what he's going to do all the time. And so maybe that's a problem with Glad. And I just feel like Glad is out of position all the time. So maybe that's a problem with Vera, because Vera is out of the position all the time as well. But it's like, okay, but like, how long have you guys been playing with each other? You should know how each other play by now. But neither of them can stay fit for a full season. So it's not always just them.
It's just not something. It's just miscommunication that for two guys who have been your star partnership for the last, like I said, better part of 2.5 years. It needs to be better. It needs to be better communication. There needs to be, whether that's Ojeda, whether that's Anelli, someone has to be tracking that mark.
Yeah.
Somebody has to be watching Oluweshi run into the box and be calling that out and saying, hey, there's a mark.
Yeah.
Running into the box. And I just don't see it on this goal.
I don't even know what we would do to fix that, because that's just a communication problem. It's like, how are we just letting guys run free in our own box?
Yes.
Like, do we need one of our midfielders to play as a third center back?
And for a guy like Junka, who's been in this league forever, is a veteran in this league, has been, like I said, playing for a really long time, I think it's a poor look to get caught in no man's land.
Yeah.
Either you commit to that cross or you go back into that box and start marking up. Don't just stand there. Don't just watch the cross come in. Do something.
That's pretty self-explanatory. I feel like when you were taught to play soccer,
yeah, man,
don't let the opposing player get a cross in, because stuff like that happens.
It seems like for the vast majority of this season, and for a large part of this season, a lot of the goals conceded by Real Salt Lake, it's just simple defensive mistakes. It's easy, basic defensive mistakes that can be fixed and should be fixed, but yet here we are 6 games into the season, and we're still talking about getting beat easily in the air.
We have the worst of both worlds right now. We can't score.
Well, we'll get to the scoring, man.
And we can't defend.
Well, we'll get to the scoring. I want to talk about literally 2 minutes later, after Minnesota takes a 1-0 lead, Philip Quinton just gets absolutely bodied on inside his own box. Rosales and Quinton go body to body, shoulder to shoulder. Quinton goes down so easily, and Rosales has an open shot, but luckily Cabral saves. But, man, Quinton, what are we doing, man?
He's absolutely in no man's land, and it's just, bye. Like, he just got sat on his butt.
He did get sat on his butt.
It's just over. Like, we could probably go on and on and on about all these defensive mistakes this whole game. It was just such a bad performance. It's like, it kind of feels like Minnesota's turning into the new Dynamo for us. We can't get past them no matter what we do.
I'm not there yet.
No, we're almost there.
I'm not there yet.
They could beat us in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think just because I think we have a little bit of recency bias for that because we just played them in the playoffs and we can beat them. But I'm not to the Houston level with Minnesota yet.
Just wait. This take will age great.
All right. Let's talk about the other side of the ball now. What is happening in the offense?
I think it's pretty simple. It's not simple, but we got our DP Diogo Gonçalves, who's still struggling. And then the other one, I think everyone's thinking the same thing, is we don't have a 9 that can score consistently.
I think it's crazy how different the attack looks already when Forster Ajago's starting versus when Ari Piol is starting. I have more confidence in the attack when Piol's in than I do when Ajago's in.
Yeah.
Hey, congrats for scoring against Herediano. Thanks for scoring against Seattle. But other than that, what have you done?
Run. That's really about it. Run and whiff.
And I like that he gets in defenders' faces and
I like that passion.
He has that passion. I can't fault him for that. I do like that he's a little bit more physical and loves to get up in defenders and isn't afraid to go in for a tackle. We've seen him go in for tackles more than I've seen him inside the box, honestly.
I don't think Forster's given us a reason to be like, hey, this guy sucks, get him off the team. I just feel like it's taking him some time, and people are running out of patience with our strikers. Well, Piol hasn't really had that. He got that red card, and he was injured when he first came in. And I don't have anything against either of them. It's just you can tell they're young, and they're getting used to the new team. But fans run out of patience with 9s pretty quickly because your job is to pit balls into the back of the net. And if you aren't doing that, people are going to start saying stuff.
That's just something that we haven't really seen Real do yet this year.
Nope.
5 goals on the season, 11 conceded so far. And like you mentioned, I don't have a reason to not like Ajago. I don't have a reason to not like Piol. I think they've shown signs, and I think they showed glimpses that they can potentially be really, really solid and really good. However, they're both very young and inexperienced. And I think inexperience is where it's getting them the most. You need to have, in this day and age of Major League Soccer, you need to have someone a little bit more proven. And that's just something Real does not have.
Yeah, if you look at other teams, almost every team have a guy at striker who's scoring at least 10-plus goals a season. Or they're a proven striker elsewhere, and they're coming here to play in the MLS. We have young strikers. We have a guy from the NCAA and played for Nashville's MLS Next team last year, and then a guy from the Australia League.
Which, again, I think they can be good depth pieces.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But like I said, in this day and age, you need more. You need something more.
And going on from last season, having a guy like Chicho Arango, who was 1 goal away from breaking Real Salt Lake's goal scoring record,
tied Saborio,
to going to now.
Yeah, man.
I'm not gonna say we don't have no one, but we don't have a MVP caliber striker like we did last year.
And I don't even think you need someone to come in and be an MVP caliber like Chicho was last season. I think you just need someone who's going to consistently bag you 10-plus goals.
Damir Kreilach type player.
Sure.
Yeah.
Someone who's just going to get you more goals.
Yeah.
Like I said, Ari Piol and Ajago right now are just unproven.
Yeah.
They're unproven. They don't have the experience, and it shows. And I think, and obviously that's where Real Salt Lake is currently lacking, is in the attack, is that 9 position. But let's also take a look back at that 3 with Diego, and Mark Juk. there was an interesting list put out by our guy Mike, who covers Orlando City, and he went through and he tallied up all the goals and assists from DP players from every team, as well as the combined goals and assists for the entire teams, and what percentage of the DP contribution was being made by the designated players. You have teams like Orlando, who's off to a really hot start this season, who their DPs have contributed for 60% of their goals and assists. That's a good number. That's really solid. You have Cincy, who's accounted for 66. Cincinnati's also one of those good teams. You look towards the bottom of the list, 4 spots from the bottom, Real Salt Lake, with just 1 goal and assist on the season from DP play. And of course, with the 5 goals, you only have 10 goals and assists on the season. So that's 10%. So either way you look at it, it's not good.
Yeah.
It's no bueno.
It sucks, man. Like we're so unlucky right now. Like we get Diogo Gonçalves last season, Chicho Arango's buddy that they played with each other at Benfica, and then Chicho's gone. Boom, a DP gone like that. And then, all right, Diogo Gonçalves, it's your time to step up, and it's just not happening. I don't know if it's gonna happen.
I think for me, man, I obviously Diego Luna is a really, really, really good player, really incredible player. Has shown incredible potential at both the Real Salt Lake stage, the MLS stage, and now at the international level. We talked about it last week, how much national pundits were raving about Diego Luna. But Luna can't do it all by himself.
No.
You can't expect Diego Luna to create, to score, to do everything in the attack for you, because it's just not feasible. It's not going to work. Diego Luna is a really good player to have, but you need to have a supporting cast. There needs to be more help. I think Dominic Markzuk, we haven't really talked about it, but I think since that miss against San Diego, he's a different guy. I haven't seen the electric getting forward Dominic since that miss against San Diego. I don't know if one miss like that, where you have basically a 1v1, you have to score situation, you put it wide, and that really hurt his confidence, because I haven't seen that Diego since. Or that Dominic since. There's so many D's in the midfield, man.
Yeah.
And so I want to see more from Dominic now. I need to see more from Dominic. I need to see more from Diogo.
Yeah, our wingers aren't doing much. Luna's basically the attacking midfielder at this point.
Luna's doing everything.
Yeah, 21 years old. Can't expect him to carry the team. There's levels to this. Luna's a great player, but he's not that player yet. He has the potential to be that player. But as you said, we need a supporting cast.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the reality is I think Diego Luna is a lot better and a lot more suited to be a playmaker, not to be your most relied on goal scorer. Obviously he can score. We've seen him score, and he's scored some good goals. But he's a lot better and playing a lot better when he's producing and he's playmaking. So now that goes back into the striker situation. Who's he feeding?
Yeah.
And of course the supporting cast. Who's helping him? Because right now that attack is abysmal. It is not good.
It's terrible. You think about it, I'm going to bring up Chicho again. It just feels like Luna plays a lot better with a guy who can confidently go out there and score.
Yeah, man.
He doesn't it brings the pressure off his shoulders, and he's like, okay, I know if I give him the ball, he can shoot from anywhere on the field and he can score. Same thing with Anderson Julio.
And now I'm starting to get concerned, and now I'm starting to question whether or not Diogo and Diego can be on the field at the same time.
Who would you rather have on the field?
Let's talk about the subs. In the 45th minute, Real Salt Lake goes in and brings in Bodie Hidalgo at the halftime break, Jesus Barea at the halftime break, Lachlan Brook, and Xavier Gozo. interesting substitutions, to say the least. One, because I don't think I've ever seen Pablo make 4 substitutions at once, let alone at the halftime break. And I know during his press conference earlier in the week, he said that it was because there was some hypothermic situation happening. But I honestly think that those subs were made because the team wasn't performing.
Those, in my mind, those are someone's jobs on the line type of subs.
Why did the attack, again, look better when Lachlan Brook came onto the field and Diogo was off? Why did the attack look better with Jesus Barea, who's playing his first MLS minutes, and Diogo's off?
Who knows? Barea has everything to prove. You know, he has really nothing to lose right now.
Yeah, that man has absolutely nothing to lose.
He just got his debut in the MLS, and he came in and he looked pretty bright. Same with Lachlan Brook. You know, we talked about him a lot last week and how we want him to play more. Came in and looked a lot better. He was a difference maker.
Now, because of the substitutions made at the halftime break, because of the difference in the attack in the second half, than what we saw in that first half, honestly, it wasn't, out of this world attack. It wasn't really great attacking either, but it was better than what we saw in the first half. So why is it that when Diogo's off the pitch, obviously that's going to free up Luna, and that frees up your attack. Why did the attack look better without your DP on the field? And we'll throw Dominic in there too. Because like I said, I need to see more from Dominic. That guy that started the season, that's not the Dominic we saw on Saturday.
No. And just look at this. I'm looking at some stats right now, and Real Salt Lake had 4 total shots with 0 on target in the first half. You go look at the second half, 11 shots with 4 on targets with 3 big chances.
That's what I'm saying, man.
So you got even 17-year-old Xavier Gozo coming on and making a difference as well. Because we made 4 subs, and those 4 subs were obviously doing something than those 4 guys that came off.
And I think a lot of it has to do with the Jago too.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it has to go with the Jago. The second you bring off all 3 of those guys, your offense looks a lot better. And that should be telling for Pablo Mastroeni.
This is what I'm seeing when Jago's on. We're not seeing any creativity up top.
Yeah.
This is what I'm seeing. Just over the top ball, hoping Jago runs onto it. We're not seeing any hold up play. He can definitely bring the ball down out of the air and lay it off to someone, but we're not seeing that hold up play. I can look back a couple times where I've seen where he has the ball and he's getting bodied off of it every time. Or he controls the ball and tries to go forward rather than going backwards to like Luna or someone. We're not seeing any creativity from him like we would see with like Chicho, where Chicho would pick it up like at halfway and launch a ball, or pick out a simple pass to someone and then they would launch the ball, and then that would start the counter, and then Chicho would make his way up. But no, we're just playing straight up freaking U12 rec soccer tactics and just launching the ball up, hoping Jago can chase the ball down.
I want to know what happened to the attack we saw against Seattle. The attack we saw against San Diego. Because that was a lot better than what we saw on Saturday. The passing was nice. And even Houston. I forgot about the Houston game. The passing was better. The creativity was better. The opportunities were better. Why are we not continuing to play that way?
We're lacking consistency.
Exactly. This is a very inconsistent team, and I think when you're inconsistent in both the defensive side of the ball and on the attacking side of the ball, that's why we're seeing Real Salt Lake in the position that it's in right now. They are 1 point per game. They're a 1 point per game team right now. They're 6 games in, 6 points. Taken from a possible 18, and that's not a good formula for success.
Look, Real Salt Lake's got 4 games until a lot of alarms are going to be rung here at the RSL Show.
Look, I know Josh says 10 games, man, but the alarms are going off.
Yeah,
and they've been going off.
Just wait. It might get worse. It might not get worse. Maybe his trip in Manchester will make it a little bit better. Maybe we'll finally start getting results with Josh not here.
Hopefully. Maybe then he can retire. Do you want to talk about that Vera goal, or should we just move on?
Let's just move on.
All right, let's move on. Vera, do better. That's all we can say about that one. Vera, do better.
We expect a lot better from you.
Rouse Lake falls 2-0 on the road at Minnesota. Like I said, 6 games, 6 points. Big opportunity. A big chance to get 3 points here at home against another team that is struggling in the LA Galaxy. Going back to what you said earlier at the beginning of the show when we were talking about the LA Galaxy, when you were talking about Marco Royce's comments about how, we won MLS Cup and then we kind of had to gut the roster. And that's why, that's a little bit of why we're in the situation that we're in. The Western Conference table to where it was last season to where it is now, it's completely flip-flopped. The top teams, LA Galaxy, LAFC, Seattle, Real Salt Lake, all towards the bottom of the table, while you have Minnesota, Austin, newcomers San Diego, and even Colorado, who is kind of a mid-table team, but they're towards the top right now. Just a complete shift to who the heavy hitters were last season to where we are now.
It's really it's super interesting to see where the table is right now at the beginning of the season. I bet it's going to look a lot different.
Oh, it's far from over.
Yeah, it's far from over. But you even got to look at a team like Seattle, where they brought in, I guess Paulo Arriola's out for the season now. I think he tore his ACL or something.
Yes.
But they did bring in Jesus Ferreira,
who had a couple of good starts, first couple of good games, but since then that Seattle team has really stalled out.
On paper, that Seattle team does not look bad at all.
Pablo Mastroeni, after Rouse Lake beat them 2-0, Pablo Mastroeni said that Seattle was going to be the best attack in Major League Soccer. Haven't seen it yet.
No. Do they even have like a natural 9 right now? I think Jordan Morris is their striker.
It's Morris and Ferreira, yeah.
Yeah. And like Ferreira's not even really a striker either. He's more of an attacking midfielder.
Ferreira's a little bit of a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
He can kind of play wherever in that front four.
Yeah.
But I still think Seattle's trying to figure it out with him.
Yeah. Whatever happened to the Rudiez rumors?
Not true.
Not true.
Not true.
Yeah.
That's why we didn't even talk about him.
Okay, good.
It just wasn't worth it.
Yeah, but who knows? Maybe Seattle could be using him right now.
No.
No.
He's too old.
Oh, okay. Someone agrees with me.
He's not the same guy he was even 2 years ago, man.
Okay.
But yes, it wasn't true. Real Salt Lake LA Galaxy this weekend. We talked about the Galaxy a little bit. Very injury-ridden. They're kind of in a weird situation where they're a completely different team without Ricky Puig. And I think losing Jovic really hurt them. And they haven't really properly replaced him. I think Christian Ramirez, is a really good MLS striker and gets the job done, but he's not Jovic.
And he's aging.
He's aging.
He's not getting any younger.
For Columbus, Ramirez's best spot and best position was a super sub.
Yeah.
And now the Galaxy's anticipating him to start, to be the guy. And I think more so, I think something that's more so concerning than their lack of goal scoring is the amount they're leaking in the back right now. You basically return your MLS Cup winning defense, who was pretty solid last season, and now compare them to this season where they're really, really struggling. And John McCarthy had an absolute howler against Orlando City. Did you see that, Carson?
Yes, McCarthy's been really good since he came into the league. Like ever since that final with LAFC, and now he's with LA Galaxy. That's probably the worst mistake I've seen him make.
He made a similar one last week.
Ooh, okay. Now it's catching up to him.
So now I'm having doubts that McCarthy's even a solid starter for the Galaxy at this point.
Here's the problem, though, is he's been sharing minutes with their backup.
With Mikovic. And Mikovic does the job.
Yeah.
But they're still leaking goals like crazy.
And then also, you said, they're leaning on Ramirez to be that guy. I don't think he's going to be that guy for a whole lot of the season. They brought in that young striker from Brazil, Matias Nascimento.
Nascimento, yep.
And I think once he gets comfortable, that's going to be their guy right there.
Any score predictions?
From Botafogo. Let's get some positivity in this room. LA Galaxy's not doing good either. And, our goalie's doing good, and they're having kind of a hard time with their goalies. Let's say 3-1 RSL.
Is it wild? Is it crazy for me to say that this is a must-win 7 games into the season?
No.
Because I think it's a must-win.
It definitely is. That's it definitely is, because if we don't win, then the bell's going to start ringing.
Like I said, it's already ringing, man.
It's going to get even worse.
I can't remember the last time RSL lost 3 back-to-back home games. You don't get the 3 points against the Galaxy on Saturday. 3 straight at home dropped.
What happened to home field advantage?
Even in that 2023 season where Real Salt Lake finished with a terrible home record, I don't think they lost 3 straight at home.
Never.
And now we're getting into that territory where, hey, you might lose 3 straight at home.
We need the riot back, man.
I don't think it's a fan issue.
Oh, it's not the fan issue, but
I don't think it's a fan issue.
The players should be playing better in front of their own fans.
I agree.
It's sickening to see that it's not happening. And if we go 3 losses in a row at home, that's ridiculous. That's not okay for Real Salt Lake standards.
I'm kind of scared to give a prediction. I'm not going to lie.
Just give one. Come on.
I'm a little bit scared to give one. But I'm going to go. I think Real Salt Lake will bounce back. And I'm going to go 2-1 RSL at home.
Okay. Who are your goal scorers?
No, don't ask me that. Don't ask me that. I'll give you a prediction. I won't give you goal scorers because I don't know where the goals are going to come
2
from.
own goals.
That just might be the case for Real Salt Lake, man.
With the way the MLS has been going this season, you never know.
But in theory, Ari Peel should be back, and I think Ari Peel will inject a little bit into the attack, and that will hopefully do enough for Real Salt Lake to create a little bit more chances.
And just like we saw with him versus Seattle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm going to go 2-1 Real Salt Lake at home. Carson, anything else that you want to add? Anything else you want to say? Anything else you want to throw out there into the universe before we wrap this one up?
I feel like every time I end with this segment, I'm always trying to bring some positivity.
I think a lot of fans would need some positivity right now.
I don't know if I could give any. It's a very down time right now, and it's a really slow time to be a Real Salt Lake insider fan, and it's just looking very, on my end, it's looking very concerning right now, and that's all I can really say. But
other than that, let's get 3 points.
Heck yeah.
Let's get 3 points on Saturday and make me and Carson feel a little bit better.
Go RSL.
That's going to do it for us here on the RSL Show on the KSL Sports Network. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in, for listening, for following, for subscribing, for doing what you have to do to follow the RSL Show for the best RSL content. We'll talk next time after this Real Salt Lake versus LA Galaxy game. We'll also have a special edition of the RSL Show coming up soon with our good friends from News Across the Galaxy to help us preview this matchup between Real Salt Lake and the LA Galaxy. Until next time.